This is a short video on what's called speaker phasing. Basically, with correct speaker phasing, what you want the cones, you want them to move in the same direction at the same time when the voice coils are energized. You know, like when the cones are energized, you want them both going forward at the same time and backwards at the same time. When the speakers are out of phase, what is going to happen is the sound waves coming from one speaker is going to try and cancel out the sound waves coming from the other speaker. You know, like one cone is going to be going this way, going out, and one cone is going to be going in at the same time. You're going to have that cancellation effect, and that's going to cause the most canceling. That's going to be with the bass frequencies. Now with these JBL Control 1 speakers here, are going to be my guinea pigs. I'm going to show how to use just a regular dry cell battery to check for the correct speaker phasing. So what you do is you connect the positive speaker wire. That's going to go to the positive battery terminal, and then if the phasing is correct, then you know, like, once I do that, the cone's going to move outward. I'm going to try to focus in here a little bit more. I don't know if it can be even seen. I'll try. So now I'm going to like I said, the positive speaker wire, the positive's labeled on the back of the speaker, or should be, and of course the minus is going to go to the minus, and now the speaker cone should move out. Yeah, you can see that it's moving out. And if I go ahead and reverse the leads, then it should suck it in, basically. Yeah, it's actually sucking it in. I'm going to try to get a little bit more of a close up here. I don't know if hopefully that can be seen. So now this time I'm going to connect the minus to the minus and the positive to the positive, and now I'm going to reverse the leads. Basically, it's going to be out of phase. I've got the plus wire, the speaker, to the minus of the battery, and the minus wire speaker to the plus side of the battery, the positive side. See, it's like sucked in. And so what you want, basically, you want them both moving at the same time. So you'll basically have to, you can use that to test both of them to see if your connections are right. Of course, with the other speaker, the same thing has to happen. Once you put the plus to the plus and the minus to the minus, and the speaker cone should move out and the other way around. That way, say for example, if for some reason you weren't sure, which I think is going to be like a real rare case, then you could go ahead and you could figure it out that way. Now, if you want to go the convoluted route, like I'm doing now, you could also just use a regular stereo receiver or amplifier, hook your speakers up to that, feed in a low frequency sine wave into the aux jack in the back, and put the receiver in mono mode. And of course if you have like a sound pressure meter like I do, and then you could go ahead and check it that way. Now the speakers now are correctly phased. You can see the needle of the sound level meter. That's just me speaking. The speakers are correctly phased. What I'm going to do is turn up the volume somewhat. I'm feeding in a, like I said, right now a low level, I think it's 100 hertz sine wave. And what I'm going to do is measure that. I think I'm going to bring it up to around, well, right up here when it's up, I guess, between +2 and +4 dB. Then I'm going to go ahead and phase the speakers the wrong way. I'm going to have one of them backwards, and then we're going to go ahead and see what kind of a difference that makes as far as the sound level is concerned. What should happen is when one of the speakers is hooked up incorrectly, the sound level, it should decrease. So I'm now ready to continue on. Right there, of course, that's my voice pegging the meter. I'm feeding in that 100 hertz sine wave. I've got the audio generator hooked up a little bit, and the speakers are hooked up correctly. They're in phase now. I have the receiver set to mono, not stereo, and I'm going to go ahead and turn up the volume until, let's say, the needle goes up into the right up into the green area there. And then I'm going to go ahead and make myself a mark at that particular volume. As I said, I'm slowly going to turn up the volume. Then I'm going to go ahead and make a mark, shut everything off, hook one of the speakers up backwards, turn up the volume again to the exact same mark. I'm going to make a mark on my faceplate in my receiver, which I'm going to use a marker and just wash it off, since it's going to come off real easy. And then what should happen is the meter now, once it's hooked up, once one of the speakers is hooked up backwards, basically it's going to be out of phase. The meter should not peg out that much anymore. It shouldn't be, not what I'm trying to say, it shouldn't be as loud anymore. So here we go. I'm going to go ahead and leave it up, turn it up for about 5 to 10 seconds. It's going to be a little bit loud and irritating. So let me go ahead and start. So now I'm going to go ahead and make a mark. So I've got the speaker hooked up backwards now, and the needle now, it shouldn't peg out no more so much with the same volume output. I made that mark so I know exactly where it's at. So here we go. I'm going to go ahead and turn it up, and then stop once I reach at that pre-marked spot. I'm at the spot right now, and as you can see, it's, well, that's of course my voice again. As you can see, once I stop talking, it's nowhere near it was earlier. As I said, this is the speaker hooked up backwards now. So I had to turn up the volume much higher in order to get the needle to peg out that much. Now here's the view if you're looking directly at the volume control. Now when the speaker was phased correctly and the needle was right at about between the, I believe was between the red and the green area, I made a little mark right here. You can see there, that's when the speaker was phased correctly. Now when I had it up here, the speaker was phased correctly, and it took this much volume to get the needle to peg out just as much as when it did as when the speaker was hooked up correctly. I've as I said, the wires are just basically hooked up backwards, so hopefully that shows the difference right there. And here you can clearly see the speaker wire hooked up backwards. You really don't need a sound level meter to check the phasing if it is actually one of those very rare circumstances where you don't know. You can use just a basic stereo and the loudspeakers just as well. What I'm doing now is I'm just taking the loudspeakers and I've got both of them just facing each other, and then you're really going to be able to hear the difference then if the speakers are not phased correctly, which of course means the polarity is wrong. So my next step here is I'm going to turn the amplifier up to a preset level. Then I'm going to go ahead and reverse the loudspeaker leads, and maybe you'll be able to hear the difference. Here now I have to check the polarity is correct right now. That is red to red and black to black. So here I go. In fact, I don't need the sound pressure meter. Shut that off. So okay, now I'm going to go ahead and keep the volume control at the same spot, but just switch around the speaker wires. Let me shut the receiver off for a second. So this just takes a second here. This should make a pretty large difference. Okay, now time to turn it back on. It's on now. It's just so much quieter because the sound waves are just canceling each other out. That's basically all that's happening. All that energy, I guess you would say, is lost.